Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, with ranked play finally getting confirmed, arriving into Vanguard here in just a few days time. A lot of former pro players have given their thoughts on OpTic Texas right now and why, if they don't perform at Major 1, roster changes may well be required already. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you are new as always, I'd really appreciate it. Let's just dive straight in. First of all, look at this. We've got a teddy bear, it's in the game, like, you know, World War II, classic stuff. We just love the realism really that Vanguard is providing right here, because of course there was some talk the fact that, okay, trophy systems can't be here because trophy systems weren't in World War II, right? What do you mean we can't have that in the game? That wouldn't be realistic. But you know, we got the Build-A-Bear, he's killing you in Warzone or in Vanguard multiplayer. It's just vintage stuff from the Call of Duty developers, maybe even some more anime bundles in the game as well. That's what we need according to Charlie Intel. Let's just talk about this then, right? Because ranked play is finally going to be here. February the 14th, season 2 got delayed for a couple of weeks. I think it would have already been here, but still, they have said on this, if we zoom into this kind of image, we find the following: multiplayer new maps. So 2 new maps, Gondola and Casablanca, which both sound kind of good. I don't know if they're actually going to play well at all, but we'll actually see in a second here that they say they're 3-lane style maps, which I mean, look, the pros absolutely have to test these maps out for all the game modes, especially Control. We need a 3rd map right now to be played on that on, because we can't just go Tusker and Gamma 2 for the entire year. So well, hopefully one of these maps might play well for Control. We did kind of think that there might be like a London Docks or a USS Texas or something coming into the game, which apparently was found in the files. Hasn't been arriving as of yet. Like, London Docks was really heavily rumoured before the game even launched, so that would come at like Season 1, Season 2 as a DLC map, like a World War II map, bring it back into this game. Of course, look, with the doors and stuff, may ruin it to some degree, but would have been nice to see anyway. The pros, I'm sure, would have been keen to give it a go, but yeah, we're going to have to make do with these 2 for now, but hopefully they work out relatively well. On the bottom left-hand side, of course, you'll see ranked play. Now, well, they make it clear it's actually a beta, which, you know, just hilarious, right? It's taken all this time, and now they're still saying it's a beta. Now, this may just be a way to kind of cover their tracks if things don't really work. They can say, oh, you know, it's just in beta phase or whatever. But then again, I'm pretty sure even Fortnite, which has obviously been out for years, is still technically in a beta mode. I think it's because they can change things easier or something. I don't really think that would apply here. But still, interesting regardless that after all this time, it's still a beta. Just hopefully it works okay, right? Because sometimes the betas can actually be pretty good. And at the end of the day, all they need is like some software and some code that will make the iLLeY format system work, right? Which is what we had in World War II, which Cellium made. So surely it can't be too hard to copy and paste. But of course, I don't know all about this type of stuff. This also a couple of maps, right? Because well, this is the Casablanca map, a shining jewel of Morocco. Casablanca is a medium-sized 3-lane style map with a bustling marketplace. So it seems kind of interesting. Look, if you say 3-lane style map, that's probably going to be more, well, attuned to competitive play than a lot of the maps we had to play at the launch size. So well, we'll see how this one goes. Also, this from Gondola, I thought was kind of funny, right? Because there's actually going to be, we'd imagine, a moving gondola on this map, which does make me think. Imagine Cellium sitting in there, he's holding an angle, like he's just flying around the map. Like, I'm sure he's going to find some interesting stuff. Of course, I imagine the dynamic elements or whatever will probably be turned off in competitive play, but I mean, still, again, a medium-sized 3-lane style map. So definitely some positives to look at here that they seem to be implying. Yes, ranked players here, but also these 2 new maps are, well, potentially with competitive in mind. I guess that maybe that's optimistic thinking, but I still think this is pretty good to look at regardless. This also what they say about ranked play in the article. Recently, Toronto Ultra bested 11 other elite professional squads, so good to see they actually know about what happened here, even though this might have been from Charlie Intel's site. As the league continues its regular 2022 season schedule following an exciting opening weekend, Vanguard will offer a bespoke, well, I mean, why bespoke? Why do they have to use that word in there? Like, it's just so unnecessary. But yeah, multiplayer ranked play mode, launching in beta at the start of Season 2, featuring league-approved rules, visible skill ratings. Of course, this is a big one. We heard before it was going to be visible skill ranks, I think. Now they say ratings, which very much implies an actual number, right, associated with your skill level, which is exactly what we want to hear. Like, exactly how it was in World War II. And new competitive rewards, alongside other innovations from Trek and Cellium games. Stay tuned later this week, all that type of good stuff. So yes, this is certainly a positive. It's going to be here in just a few days' time on February the 14th, we believe. I think last season they said it was going to come in season for Season 2, ended up being kind of the end of February. This time it's a little bit earlier. Of course, we'd like it to have launched with the game, right, of course, but still, I guess it's a positive at last. If there's an iLLeY rating, it actually might be pretty good and fun to play. I guess we'll see how this goes. As Simp says as well, ranked play and new zombies, and you know what they mean beta, you'll see, says Simp. So he reckons he kind of knows why they're calling it a beta. Of course, well, I guess we'll see when it drops if it's absolutely terrible, right? That maybe that's why they call it a beta. And there are still things that they would like to upgrade. This also from LAG here at the rumored rank play skill ranks, you know, all the teddy bears come into play. But yeah, Paris Legion, OpTic Texas, Seattle Surge and Toronto Ultra as the masters based on last year's. But we think hopefully this year they'll have a slightly better rank system than these 4 duels going on right here. Scump says the following ranked play W. He's obviously wanted this for a very long time. He talked about it very early on last year in Cold War as well. Why is ranked play not launching with the game? And yeah, finally it's arriving here in Call of Duty Vanguard. But yeah, lots to talk about the OpTic team, of course, this past weekend. This also just to mention real quick, as Chrome points this out, and yeah, London Dogs, that was meant to be arriving, didn't really turn up being the case. Right, USS Texas, where's that? Of course, USS Texas might be okay for Search and Destroy, but the other game modes, not quite sure it's going to work. But even then, compared to some of these other maps we're having to deal with, maybe you could even try it out. But hopefully the pro players try out these new maps, Gunless and Casablanca, and well, hopefully they work out to a pretty good effect. Let's dive into this then, right? Because of course, after this past weekend, OpTic lose 2 Game 5 Round 11s. And look, if they'd have won the 2 Game 5 Round 11s, people probably wouldn't have been raising these questions. But just the fact that you're losing Game 5 Round 11s, the fact of the matter is, if you want to win championships, be a contending team for the entire season, you're going to have to win in clutch moments. Like, you're going to have to win Game 5s, you're going to have to win Round 11s. Toronto Ultra, Atlanta FaZe certainly know all about that these last couple of years. OpTic haven't done that so far, and of course they've had not the start of the season they want to. And yeah, certainly some interesting opinions come out here. Firstly, I even saw this on the Los Angeles pre-show a few days ago, and Nabel was kind of raising this point that in his opinion, and Nature certainly agrees, if a team doesn't work out right at the start, you pretty much know what the team's ceiling is going to be very quickly indeed. He reckons, like, if they play this month, it doesn't go too well in these upcoming qualification matches, then they underperform at the major. The team should realize they're not going to have what it takes with this roster of 4. And if anything, last year, like, it was kind of a similar thing where the OpTic Chicago team, they were good, they were coming top 4, but pretty much the entire season they decided to stick with it and try and make things work, but they never really got out of top 4, and at the end at Champs they actually came top 6, right? Got even worse technically, so maybe they should have realized earlier on the team wasn't working, they might need to make some sort of changes. So then Deserto come back with the reverse sweep, actually a cracking cast they have here. Center, Aches, Enable and Parasite giving their thoughts also on the OpTic team. I'll share what Parasite had to say on iLLeY, the fact that he thinks he's a bit inconsistent, very aggressive, takes a lot of gunfights that maybe he doesn't necessarily need to, and of course the other question mark really is the leadership on this team, right? So Enable brings that up in his own video, the fact that yeah, really the OpTic guys right now in the game itself, they don't have a leader. When it's coming down to the wire in the kind of the clutch, crucial moments of the game, towards the end of the hard points, towards the end of the Search and Destroy, they don't have anyone stepping up in the communication, and that's what's holding them back.
They were just always stuck in that 3rd, 4th range. And we saw that from the very beginning of the year up until the end. You will find your ceiling rather fast. I've said this before, but from personal experience, you know, and so the OpTic fans don't think I'm coming at them. My 100T team back in Black Ops 4, when we were formed, people were saying this team can rival OpTic Gaming on paper when it comes to talent, right? And then we go into the first event and we get top 12. I knew, and we knew as a team, we could be a solid team, but we will never be a championship team with this 5. But the biggest question mark for me is, who's their leader? And you can't say Rambo Ray or Sender. I'm talking about a leader in the game while they're playing. They can't spend another season behind the likes of Atlanta FaZe, of Toronto Ultra, and the other championship caliber teams.
I know Ender has had his frantic moments. Like, you go back and watch Empire last year, where he just had a string of inconsistencies. And I love Ender, and I think he's a good player, and I'm not trying to like sit there and bash on anyone, but he just happens to be an inconsistent player. And if you look at his stats from last year, he gets into a lot of engagements. Like, you can tell he's playing at a very, very fast pace, and it's almost like hectic and kind of frantic. And so
he's hovering about at a career 0.9, by the way. That's kind of like his career stats based on last year and right now. Ender's considered a superstar, right? Especially on this team. A career 0.9 is surprisingly low for me.
It's just one of those things where I just feel like he's prone to make a lot of mistakes because of like how over aggressive he kind of gets. Like, he takes a lot of chows, and it's kind of like even Dashy, he takes a lot of gunfights that, you know, arguably you don't need to like take. And like, I think for me, those 2 players are the players that you kind of like need to look out for on this roster.
I think on paper the team's great, and it's really hard for me to say like, yeah, like their ceiling isn't high enough to win because they lost 2 Game 5 Round 11s. But I will say that it does say to me, like, I think that if you lose Game 5 Round 11 and you lose it consistently, it says a lot about your team.
You see your ceiling very early on as a team. So I think it's...
I completely agree with that, by the way.
So, you know, the first 1 or 2 events, if OpTic isn't a contender, I don't think that they will have a chance to win with that same 4.
So what do you guys think about what those fellas had to say, right? Because a lot of questions being raised about iLLeY right now, right? And of course, this kind of would be predictable going into the season. We kind of knew that Shotzzy wasn't going to get any flack if the team was underperforming. Scump obviously is undroppable. Then it's Dashy and iLLeY. Those are always the 2 guys the question marks are going to be over if the team isn't performing quite as well they might have done. And iLLeY, of course, on paper, fantastic player. Certainly, like, great communication. But the leadership stuff is a bit of a question mark. We know that Scump hasn't really been that guy for his career. It's not going to be Shotzzy. It's not going to be Dashy. So really, in-game, leadership-wise, the likes of, you know, of course, Toronto, they've got Bance who does that over there. We've got Arcitys on FaZe. They kind of needed a guy like that to come into FaZe. Going into the Cold War season, they bring in Arcitys. They get obviously better than they were in Modern Warfare. Arcitys definitely brings the leadership in that sense. Seattle Surge, one of the top teams, if not the #1 team right now. They've got accuracy doing the job over there. So that's kind of the question mark. Where is that for OpTic? Like, and we kind of saw that when it comes down to crunch time, that OpTic weren't really able to capitalize on the advantages that they had. And yeah, of course, look, maybe iLLeY can absolutely take over in that role, right, and be a fantastic leader for this team. We haven't really seen it as of yet, and that's kind of what enables saying, look, if they kind of flop these next couple of weeks of the qualifiers, then they go into the major and they underperform. Like, this team already has to consider, look, maybe this isn't the roster of 4 that's going to get us somewhere. Maybe we do need a leader. Maybe the slaying isn't really working out as intended. And this is actually what Enable comes out with his dream team. He mentioned this right at the end of the video. I'll leave everything down below for you guys if you'd like to check it out, because definitely recommend watching this one, the full video from Enable. It certainly was a good one, really well edited by CJ as well. But yeah, this is the dream team he comes out with, effectively saying, okay, iLLeY, Scump, and Shotzzy, keep those 3, but it will drop Dashy in favor of accuracy. And this is kind of like just an overarching theme, really, of, you know, the idea of, okay, maybe they don't have a leader. Maybe they need someone like a main AR type leadership role that maybe the Dynasty used to have when they had Crimsix on the team, right, who'd often run an AR, but also kind of yeah, be an in-game leader for the roster to some degree. And, you know, maybe accuracy could be a good guy. It's a very interesting roster, right, to put together that, yeah, accuracy could come in here. And of course, I'm sure Seattle aren't looking to make any changes anytime soon either. But still, just the concept that OpTic maybe lack that leader and bring in a guy like accuracy in for Dashy could make some moves, because on paper the firepower obviously you know, gets dropped down to some degree, but you know, obviously this game it seems to be really, so far the teams that have had success are the ones that really, like, well, they clutch up in the crucial moments, they have a good leader, they have great communication, and doesn't really seem to be the case for the OpTic guys right now. So definitely some interesting thoughts from all those fellas, because yeah, iLLeY obviously hasn't been performing so well so far. The team in the crucial moments kind of fell short, and as even Doug said, losing game 5 round 11s are kind of the dagger for these rosters, right? If you keep losing game 5s, that's when you start to lose trust in your teammates. Like, things don't really work out right, and they can kill your chemistry more than even a 3-0 defeat can. So definitely some questions for the OpTic guys to answer, and Enable certainly is of the opinion that if they don't perform for the rest of this month pretty much, and into the major as well, like, this team is not going to win for the rest of the year. Definitely intrigued to get your perspective on that in the comment section below. Just wanted to mention this real quick as well, because the upcoming matches for this weekend for the OpTic Major Qualifier Week 2, or whatever they're going to call it, of course it is OpTic's own major. They've really got to perform there in Texas. But yeah, these are the games for the week. They're bringing back, I believe, the Subliners Los Angeles Thieves game that was going to be on Sunday. They're putting that on Friday instead. So it now goes 4-4-2 over the weekends, which effectively because the Super Bowl, I believe, is on Sunday. So they want to finish Sunday quite early, which does mean that Friday and Saturday are absolutely stacked with great games. But yeah, Sunday a little bit more boring, but you know, it is what it is. Very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hitting the like button tells the YouTube gods this is a good video. I'd just like you should see it as well. And help grow the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you as always, take care, and I will see you next time.